Deputy Speaker, so he makes a point about the saving culture, which is true. It's an agenda that the president has been advocating for. But you're looking at NHIF that recently has not been able to disburse funds to hospitals. Why? Because the money had been rerouted from what it should be doing to funding government services. And this was an admission by CS Nakhumicha, who came out and said as much. So how and why should Kenyans trust that NHIF will do what it's supposed to do, even with more funds that they want from Kenyans?
Okay. Before I speak on the NHIF, let me just set the record straight on the issue of borrowing. Yes, the government has said that will cut down on borrowing from international financial institutions. Foreign borrowing.
You have already overborrowed.
Allow me.
External.
That's the position the government has done. The government has a plan that has said that they want to provide universal health care for everybody. They want to be able to provide scholarships to students who want to go to university from needy families and so on. So they have all these dreams, but they have to find the money to finance all those plans from somewhere. And there are only two places that you can get the money, either from taxes or from borrowing. And because the government has wants to reduce over time our international borrowing, then we have to raise more money within the country, because that's the only other way. And when they talk about, and the other plan that the government has put in place, which already began, was that they want to focus, they don't want to borrow, they want to undertake domestic borrowing. Because when you borrow from when you borrow from locally, first of all, it's an expensive loan. But if you borrow from the international financial institutions, then you're probably doing it at 1% and over a very long period of time. Whereas local banks, it will be 9%. Previously, local borrowing was ongoing because certain people benefited because they owned banks. And now that is being cut on. So even if there is borrowing, we will try and borrow from the international financial institutions. There is also simultaneously, on the international trade negotiation trips that the president has made, he is also having a discussion about changing the international financial system so that it's not to be favorable, more favorable to Africa. So all this is, you can't transform a country in one swoop. There has to be certain deliberate interventions, and those are ongoing. So that is what is happening. First of all, the government cannot borrow from NHIF, that's one. Number two, the government cannot borrow from NSSF or from the housing levy. They each have their own designed way of where the money is supposed to go. That is why it is tax specific. It's not a pool of money that goes to the National Treasury. These go to a different fund. NHIF is an independent fund.
Unfortunately, CS Nakhumicha informed.
What happened to NHIF was not borrowing by the government. Let me explain what happens at NHIF. NHIF, it has a structural problem. And I know that there is plans to transform NHIF. A challenge with NHIF is one, there is corruption when they are accrediting providers. So that certain hospitals who pay bribes to NHIF officials get accredited, so that they channel all patients to that hospital. You just listen to the gentleman on TV, one of the members of the public. He said, unaenda kwa hospitali, unaambiwa hiyo kadi haifanyi. Then you're sent to another hospital. It's deliberate so that they channel traffic to certain hospitals. I have recently raised the issue where for IVF treatment, fertility treatment for women, certain hospitals were exclusively accredited by NHIF. And you would find that people would be leaving one city to another town so that they can go to a specific hospital because that person has favor with the NHIF cartels. So that must first, in fact, the position is you should just accredit the hospitals, especially if they've been approved by the medical board and all this. Why should you choose? Why should there be somebody sitting on a desk deciding this hospital is Muzuri, this one is not? First, in fact, it even costs NHIF more money because they spend almost 60% on administration. So that's some of the things. And for me, I'm happy to pay the extra money to NHIF, and I'm confident because I have seen that the CS and the president are very clear. They know what I'm saying. They are very familiar with it. In fact, you hear it from them. You find that even on the issue of approvals, when somebody goes to the hospital, you have to, sometimes the limit is maybe 150. You want the limit to be increased to a certain amount. Again, you have to get in touch with someone on a desk at NHIF who then says, okay, we are increasing the limit. You're leaving too much power to certain people, therefore you're creating cartels. So if the CS Health, as she has promised, deals with NHIF, it's very simple structures that need to be changed there, and NHIF will work. It can work. But I am not a pessimist who will say, okay, we will not contribute this because corruption is there. Let us contribute, but let us, as members of parliament and the Senate, you're the ones who, health is devolved. If you did your work very diligently and made sure that you're interrogating and oversighting, we can actually get rid of these cartels. We can demand that these changes be made. And the problem of NHIF is historical. NHIF has had challenges of corruption-related challenges. And that's why it has not worked. It's not because NHIF cannot work. And today, I always say, even if you tell me pay 50,000 shillings a month, I will pay to NHIF. Why? If I look at my phone now, the amount of money I contribute, my family members, my constituents asking for Harambee, by the time you look at how much you've contributed at the end of the month, it's more than that. So if I'm going to pay that once, and I never get a phone call about contributing, it's good. And it's